Svana took up the scroll and wound the wooden spools to read. Objective imagination, foundation. This general system of health takes into account the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of human experience and balances them to achieve a mindset of increased value and capability. Ecosystems have the traits that result from the balance of inputs and outputs in those systems, as set within larger and more inclusive systems, both local and distant, micro and macro. The manifestation of life on Earth has evolved sufficiently that entities, whether a human being, a colony of ants, or a plant, have distinct forms with distinct functional inclinations. Those individual genetically coded inclinations behave as purposes from an interactive functional point of view. It is their expression that others in their environment respond to and interact with. The expression of a bee's inclination to collect nectar to make honey can be vital to a plant's expression of its need to spread pollen. Ecosystems are expressions of the combined coded inclinations of their components, and within them, where a given expression seems not to be tied towards a given task, it is usually because there is some aspect of the ecosystem that is not yet understood, some aspect that would, if known, explain the apparent anomaly and prove that there was not an anomaly after all. Humans are steadily learning the extent of the interconnectedness that exists in nature, from the biodiversity that exists in rainforests, to the complex functioning of bacterial life within the human body, to the infinite diversity of an eternal multiverse system spawning at any given moment, an innumerable quantity of subverses such as our own. The extensiveness of potential manifestation is unbounded in scope. However, though unbounded in scope, that potential is not fundamentally disconnected. Rather, all of it necessarily falls into an all-identifying category of everything that exists in one way or another throughout a universe of infinite subverses. To delineate at once the total scope of this universe of infinite subverses, a term of art must be employed. Here it will be called absolute infinity. For purposes of visualization, this connecting fundamental meeting point of all subverses in the all-encompassing universe can perhaps be best described as an unbounded sphere of manifested potential, emanating perpetually and at once from the singular source of all potential, the universe itself. Fundamentally, the following discussion considers segments of human life according to a perspective founded upon an understanding of the universe as an unbounded sphere of manifestation, which is itself representative of absolutely infinite potential. Absolute infinity. Absolute infinity connotes the entirety of potential in the manifested universe, fully balanced to the point of total cancellation. It is a single state of absolute balance, absolute nothingness, and absolute potential. Unbounded sphere of manifestation. The unbounded sphere of manifestation connotes the realized representation of all potential existence inherent in absolute infinity. It can be described as an ever-developing, infinitely reforming tree of life, emanating its expressive influence from a singular point. It could be said that on every branch is a different bird, a different insect, a different leaf, and differently patterned bark. It could be said that if you were to step back from the tree, you would only see a larger tree. You would see that the tree you were looking at was in fact only a branch. And if you were to step closer and look into the valleys between the ridgelines of bark, or if you were to follow the branches, you would see entire other woodlands growing upon the tree, entire environments, worlds within worlds within worlds, each with its own laws and logics, each slightly different from the last and infinitely different from others. Creative destruction. Within the unbounded sphere of manifestation, the applicability of creative destruction is present. Everywhere is life, everywhere is death, but to different configurations of balance. Within the unbounded sphere of manifestation, the closer or further an entity is from the value of absolute infinity is representative of the energy that entity expresses. If the entity expresses energy more akin to that of the source, then it will manifest closer to the source, as more of its attributes will resemble those of the source. These attributes most particularly include complexity of content and pertinence of influence. Creative destruction is the coming and going from manifested existence of individual entities as a result of shifting expressions of traits and their applicability to immediate surroundings. From the individualized perspective of the manifested entity, and to the extent the entity lacks a perspective to see the full extent of causation, this creative destruction happens as a function of the entity's own choice, limited to some extent by the overriding choices of other perceivable entities. By that choice, the entity decides its fate. It chooses whether to more closely resemble absolute infinity, whether to maintain position, or whether to slip deeper into particularized existence.